Okay, well that was weird. I don't know why it reset my audio sources. My computer was frozen today when I came back after doing something, so don't know what was up with that, but hopefully it's not a problem. Haha. Okay, and then let's make sure we start recording, and then we'll just double check to make sure the stream is up. So test. We start recording, and then we'll just YouTube's up. And Twitch is up. Beautiful. Alrighty. Let's see. So now what we're going to do is let's put on some music. See how the volume levels are. Let's drop this down a bit. And then I'll turn down. I love the fact that my volume is distinct from yours, so I can keep yours at like a decent level, and then I can like drone mine out so I can focus more. Okay, oh, let me pull up chats. I should do that, you know. That sounds like a good idea. Grab you, and then head up here, pop this chat out. Bam. Bam. There we go. Okay. So we got some stuff upgraded on the stream. For one, ta-da, the notepad now toggles if I'm not on it anymore. So, hey, upgrades, people. Next thing I just gotta figure out how to do is actually boot my Nginx server through the start streaming button, because the start streaming button tries to find the engine server, and because it doesn't find it, it doesn't trigger the on start streaming condition, which is what I tried to hook it into for launching the Nginx. So I gotta figure out how to do that. I'm trying to do something gimmicky where when I focus the OBS tab, it turns itself on, and then shuts itself off. But the issue is that I'm then gonna have to figure out a way to, on OBS close, do the opposite, and that sounds like a fucking pain. So I just need to figure out a way to make it so that on startup it runs, which would be awesome. But that's besides the point. As of yesterday, we officially got the turn system working. Now granted, is everything fully implemented? No, but all the hooks are there, which is what matters, and the flow state works. So I say it's time to move on to the next thing, because all of the next parts that we would care about actually fully hooking in, so for example, actually processing the turns, or figuring out which the next thing the enemy is going to plan for, etc. All that is based around already having information. It doesn't really matter if I get the flow state right for the enemy checking to whether or not it has ready to go, if there's nothing for it to actually do once we get there. Now, I would say we do AI next, or get like a basic behavior structure going, and I can kind of start testing to see what that looks like, but I can't really do that without the AI having context for what the fuck is happening around them. So I think the next thing we do is the tile system. So that's kind of my thought. Now for the map of the game, what I want to have happen is this. I want to create a map that is kind of open world, but not, I hate that term. I hate it so fucking much. But we'll say open world to the point that, basically, imagine if you were playing, let's think of like Resident Evil, right? Or any kind of classic survival horror game. What I want to be able to do is make a map in runtime, and then I want to hook the map regions together, right? So let's say that we have in Resident Evil Original, let's say we have Mansion Floor 1, Mansion Floor 2, basement, backyard, lab, right? Let's say we have all those sections, and then let's in the attic, and then let's say that each of those is generated out using its own unique conditions, and then we make sure that it's viable to hook in with the other surrounding areas. So like the backyard doesn't really need a ton of limitations. All that we need to care about is the fact that when you walk down the stairs in the back part of it into the graveyard, that it hooks into the right section of the basement, and that whenever you go out of the backyard into the back of the first floor, that it hooks into the first floor. That's all we care about. And then we just need to make sure the generation it fits. Now the challenge is, I don't want to do load times. That'd be the ideal situation. I would like you to be able to walk from one section to the next. That's the challenge that I want to set forth. Now, how are we going to do that? The assumption that I have is that if we are doing that, if we allow you to walk from one region to the next, then we can't just make the regions any way we want and then hook them together. Because the regions might be viewable from other regions, the regions might overlap with other regions, technically speaking. Like, we can't just despawn and respawn the whole map as we go. There has to be some actual consistency between these things. There has to be actual hard border edges. Because you could imagine, let's say that we had, a first floor castle in the backyard. And let's say we spawn the two of them separately in memory. I feel like if the mansion is like, let's do this. On the notepad, we'll say, imagine if like this was the mansion wall, and that underscore is the doorway, and you walk out into the backyard, right? Imagine if we let the backyard like dip to the left, such that like you came out on like the corner of the building. Well, that doesn't work, right? We have to make these consistent, such that this region is consistent with this border of the region. Now, technically, you could just make all the borders connect and all the borders make sense. But by the time that you're doing that, what you've basically done is you've made one large map, you've partitioned it out for the correct things, and then you've made sure they synced. But you've just done it in a harder way because now each region has to like verify it without confirming it inside of the larger scope. I feel like it's more conceptually easier to just be like, okay, we have a 10,000 by 10,000 tile map. This section is for you, and then after you generate, this section will be for you, and then after you generate, this section will be for you, and then we like build out the map that way. So that's what I feel like is going to happen. Now, there are a few things that are noteworthy. One, how do we say? The first is making sure that the map is small, right? If we're generating this out in runtime, that's going to be a lot of fucking tiles. We need to make sure the memory is ultra tiny. So each tile, if we generate 10,000 tiles, and each tile is, 2 megabytes, that's what, 20 gigs of memory, if I do that math right in my head. So we gotta keep shit nice and fucking small. So that's what we gotta do. And so then, the next thing that's also important, is that I want to be able to, when I go to do enemy behavior, the idea that I have for doing enemy behavior is to structure it like a turn engine, or like a chess engine. Like a chess engine, where the enemy looks at the current world state, it speculates out what the player could do ahead of it, and then it will create plan around each possible world state, or generate an optimal decision. I feel like that's with like depth, I don't know, 5 maybe? I'm not sure exactly what depth I want to go for yet, but that's probably what I want to do, which even more so enforces the small tile data and simplicity of what we're doing. The other thing is, I think if we structure the data correctly, I don't want the tile to store who is in its space. I don't want to do that. I feel like the tile data should be almost, if not purely static. The second that, or read-only or whatever, like once that data is made for the run, it's locked. So I want this to be more immutable and more constant stuff that's happening. So I don't want, like, if there's an item on the ground, if there's enemies running around, if you, spill blood everywhere, I don't want the tile data to actually account for that. I want to store that in other collections. So we might have like an items collection that tracks the position of items, and then we transpose that on top of the map. Or we might have a collection of agents and where the agents are, and we transpose that on top of the map. But I do not want to do that meme shit. That's just, I don't want to deal with it. So, I feel like it's gonna fuck everything up. Oh, hold on. Oh. So, that's kind of what I'm thinking. And so, then the next question becomes, how do we structure this data accordingly? And what is the, how do we structure the data? But I also think, I'm trying to see if there's a way to challenge the idea that I need to make one big map and then sub-chunk it. Because I'm worried that when I go to grab the chunks that I want, right? So let's say that we're starting an enemy processing behavior, right? Okay, the enemy needs to consider what's going to happen in the world state and then adjust accordingly. Well, the enemy should not consider the entire world state. That would be fucking stupid, and that would burn through way too much memory. So we have to shrink it down. How much of the world state is the enemy going to consider when it goes to do this? And I'm not sure yet. Because on one hand, the easy dumb thing would just be like, oh, get like X grid size around it. So it might be like get a 10 by 10 or a 30 by 30 around it. That's all that the AI has to consider, and that's all that it has to process. And while that might be true, I'm worried that there's going to be an issue where the enemy goes to do this, and they lose out on contexts that are way more important. So, let's imagine, hypothetically, a character, like the player has access to a gun. We'll go like a big-ass fucking flintlock handgun. I almost said revolver, like a dumbass. Handgun. And they're going to fucking blow, they have like a silver bullet, and they shoot a werewolf. Okay. If this happens, the range of the gun is probably going to be, of the gunshot sound, is probably going to be greater than 30 tiles, I would hope. 30 tiles sounds like a pretty short range for audio to pop off. Which then means that when the enemy goes to process what it's going to do, and we have a flag that says, hey, there was a gunshot that went off on this tile 70 tiles away, 60 tiles away, 50 tiles away, we need to make sure that we can accommodate for that. The other thing that we have to accommodate for, so we have like long-range flags, and then in a related sense, the other thing that we have to accommodate for is objectives, right? Let's say that we have a guy whose sole job is to defend a safe. Okay, well, he's defending the vault or the bank or whatever the thing would be. 1, 5, 10 locations, doesn't matter. You either have to make it such that he can never deviate from around that spot, which is both mechanically that's going to be annoying because you're going to want to access that thing and he's going to be always fucking around. You can never get rid of him, which is going to be an annoying thing unless we build around that, but I want to give you able to let you deviate them away somewhat. The other option is if they do see the player, they can't chase them down. Or if they do, and we do let them deviate, they might forget or like lose access to the objective. So if we... Part of me wants to let them take a larger and larger chunk in order to account for this. Like maybe they take a whole region, like the whole first floor of the Resident Evil Manor. Or maybe they take like half of it plus... There's another thing I'm worried about, which is like, let's say that an enemy's chasing you and you go to leave a region. Do we let them... Does like the world outside their region not exist? Do we let them just like let you run away? Do we let them chase you down? Figuring that out is going to be weird, because then if we restrict it to the region, then how does that work? Do we allow you to access other regions? Do we load the current region plus every adjacent region just in case? Like, how much memory we have to pull in order to access these things is going to scale up our AI a lot, and it's going to hinge a lot on how we store the data, but also if we have like a 10,000 by 10,000 tile map and we have to grab, I don't know, a 500 subsection, that is going to be an ungodly amount of performance problems. Because unless we can combine it such that every enemy pulls from the same set of data, like if each enemy has to consider their own subsection of the world state, like let's imagine we have like a enemy 1 grabs region 1, enemy 2 grabs region 3, and enemy 4 grabs the basement, and each of them are considering separate things. Like, we're gonna have to do so much reading of the memory. And if we have to run through a 10,000 by 10,000 in order to do that, that's gonna fuck us in terms of performance. So I would like to find a way to store it in smaller chunks, but then make sure that it's valid as a whole. And I'm not exactly sure to do that. I'm gonna be totally honest. I have an idea, but it would be wild. The theory that I have, that I'm wondering, is I wonder if I can imply an outer bounds existence without creating one. So, like, let's imagine, right? The dumb way is we make a 10,000 by 10,000 tile array, and then we say, okay, region 1, you're allowed to be 0 through 250 by 0 through 250. That's your subregion. And then once you're done building, we'll build the next section. If we do this for all the possible chunks, now that we've stored this collection, we have the, we have to deal with it. I wonder if we could instead, grab, just allocate out a min and a max distance. Like, oh, we have a 10,000 by 10,000 limit. And then say, hey, we expect you to fall within this range of a limit without actually making the data. And then the region itself stores that data. So that could happen, and that would be interesting. I have a few concerns about this. The first is just actually implementing this, because that sounds like that could be a really big nuisance to implement. The next thing would be, we still have the same behavior problems. We just have to load less of the map whenever we consider it. But it could complicate grabbing things. So let's imagine that we decide, oh, we're actually going to allow you to just grab a 50 by 50 around the enemy. That's the best decision. That's what we've come to. If we go to do that, and you're on the edge of the map, or you're on any chunk of the map that could potentially, or is supposed to overlap with another chunk of the map, well, then you still have to, like, find a way to, like, transpose the position from one region to the next. Which means you still have to have, like, some inter-collection index system that acts like a 10 by 10 array position, but isn't. So I'd have to be really clever about how I do that if that's the case. Because it would also need to be fast. So yeah, that would be something to figure out. But yeah, so that's what I gotta figure out. And then we gotta figure out a way to do that, to build it, maintain it, and use it for behavior. It seems like, I think a lot of the issues that it boils down to, how can we utilize this in our behavior? Because that's what ultimately all that matters for it, right? How does this affect the game state? And my goal, for memory at least, my goal would be is that we could keep the memory of the map under, I don't know, 2 meg, 5 meg, 10 meg. Like, I don't want it to burn a significant chunk of memory. Like, if we had to, we could go higher, but I want to keep that memory allocation for all of our models and all of our scripting logic. Like, that's where I want to do most of this. I don't really want to make gigabytes worth of file size. Like, 100 megabytes is kind of expensive, but if we had to, I'd be okay with it. So, what I've been theory crafting is each tile is just a set of bools. That's the theory craft. So, imagine we have tile, or imagine the bools are is border or is map edge. So like that would be like your like a ring around the edge of the map. So that's one thing. Then we would have is region border. Then we might have is wall, right? Is it a floor? Is it a wall? Is it a door? Trying to figure out how to balance that. I think is wall is mostly all I care about, because a door, I might make doors in like dynamic tiles, just a flag. So we might make a new thing called like is dynamic. And so there, if it's dynamic, then we have like an overlay collection for the dynamic things. Imagine like the analogy for this would be we build out like a level, like imagine if we were like making like not a roguelike that had random maps, but imagine we built like a real like normal like Silent Hill or Evil Within map or whatever, and then imagine we just put all of the doors on one layer or all of the interactables on one layer, and we separated those out from the walls and the floors and all that stuff. And then in the position where there would be something like that, we have a dynamic tag and a collection somewhere that keeps track of those separately. That's what I think would be nice to do. So is floor or is wall is really all we care about here. And then is dynamic would just be how do we interact with it. So for example, it might be the case that you can be allowed to technically walk through a wall if the wall was a secret wall, right? So maybe is dynamic, and the dynamic is secret wall using button X. And so they press button X, we change the visual for what that wall is, and then you can now walk through it because there's a check somewhere that checks to see, oh, it is a secret wall, so therefore we ignore the is wall factor of this bounding. So that might be something that we do. So is dynamic. I'm not sure what the other tags that we could come up with. I'm sure we could come up with more data, right? We could come up with, is objective? Well, no, because the objectives are going to be stored. Because once the objective is gone, you're going to want it to be moved separately. Maybe is spawn point would probably be a good one, depending on if we have those dynamically set up. But I can imagine, if we work on this game enough, we could come up with a set of bools that matter a lot, that we could keep track of. And then the issue, though, is that in C#, bools are 1 byte of data, which is very annoying, because if we have, I just pulled up a calculator, but you can't see it, I just realized, but it's fine. If we have, 8 bytes, let's say, or in this case it's 5, even though that's assuming we don't have to make any more, and we have our 10,000 by 10,000, that's 500,000 bytes, which is, 500 kilobytes, so half a meg. That's not bad, but I would like to not bloat it if we don't have to. And if we could perhaps make, let's say that we now need 8 or 10 or 12 or 16 or whatever, that's going to cause us issues. So my theory is that we store each tile as a single byte, and we use a bitmap. So the first bit is this value, the second bit is this value, the third bit is this value, the fourth is that one, and so on and so forth. And then we do it that way. So that's my theory, at least. And then what we could do, which I this could be a fun optimization, is we actually store each in the collection, whatever the collection is that we create, we actually store it in ints, and then we make each int 4 tiles, like a 2x2 chunk, and so we can sub chunk it, and so that when we go to pull out our our data, we can grab 20 ints, and that's 80 tiles. I think that I don't know the true performance difference here, but I would assume less indexes that the array has to iterate through and less memory allocation slots that it has to jump is going to be more performant. I thought about trying to figure out how to limit it down to just 4 bools and then make each int 8 tiles, but that's a really nasty shape on the map to actually work with, and I'm not sure which tile you would take out or how to like lay those out properly. I feel like if you did that, you'd then have to make a 9th byte or 9th int that just does one corner of each of those, and that just sounds like a fucking headache to work with. So I feel like doing it in 2x2s is better, and also gives us more flags to play with. So that's my theory on how to keep it memory efficient. And then how this interacts with how we store this, I'm not sure. My naive assumption, so I'm not going to try to do anything complicated my first playthrough, my first setup. We're going to do the dumb way. But my naive assumption is that if we get the tiles small enough into these bitmaps, that we can actually cheat our way, or not cheat, but we actually make it so small that it doesn't matter that it's like a 10,000 by 10,000, because if we have a 10,000 by 10,000, but each tile is, or each 2x2 is 1 int, then you're really dividing the entire map by 4. So if we do 10,000 by 10,000, that's 100,000 tiles. And then we divide that by 4, means we're only doing 25,000 tiles. And then if we multiply that by 4 bytes, we get back to 100,000. I'm dumb. But this would be 1/10 of a meg, basically the idea. And 1/10 of a meg, I'm pretty okay with. If we had to, theoretically, we could, like, imagine we had to create way more conditions that we couldn't check in runtime, or that were not performant enough, or we did need that data. We could theoretically up them from bytes to shorts and double it, and that would still be 200k. I believe it'd still be 200k size in memory, which would be a 1/5 of a megabyte, which is fine. As long as we can get it like under half, I think it'll be fast enough to be ran through our behavior system. That's my hope. So I think these are the concerns that I have, but I think despite these concerns, I'm still going to do it the dumb way of the 10,000 by 10,000. And then if we're gonna make a really big ass fucking map, and then we're going to run around on it for a bit, and we're going to see how much of an issue it's going to be. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to build the big map. We're going to then create some enemies that can walk around on it at some point. That's not going to happen tonight. That's way too much for tonight. But we're going to create like some enemies that walk around on it. And then we're going to just see how much performance it eats to grab chunks of this, and then render them out. I also thought about, technically, we don't have to make each bit a flag. So we might make 4 bits flags, right? So imagine we have isMapEdge. I want isMapEdge. isMapEdge is really important because I remember a few years ago I attempted to do this project when I was way less of a programmer, and I failed miserably. And one of the bugs that I remember running into was I made a big ass map. It was like a 30,000 by 30,000 or something like that. And then I tried to I set up the the system such that I didn't make a distinction between normal walls and map edges. And so I allowed the Pathfinder to look at walls before it left. And what happened is that the Pathfinder would run off the edge of the array. And it would throw, hey, outside of index exceptions. So I think is map edges there to just be our true checker. And then also it'll be a nice exit checker, right? So if we run to the edge of a map, then we can be like, hey, are you aware that you're leaving this area or something? Instead of like, fucking up, instead of doing something like crazy. Hold on. I just had a brain fart and I'm realizing I might have fucked up slightly on that turn system. No, I didn't. Never mind, we're fine. For a second, I was thinking, when you go to move on that turn to leave the map, that we're going to check that, and we're going to have to determine that that's an invalid move because you're not allowed to walk onto a map edge. And so I was trying to figure out, I was like, oh cool, we're going to have to add that to our validator. And then I remember the fact that we put the validator behind or after the input, but I just remembered that we run the validator for the frame ahead of whatever you're inputting. So we're still fine. I scared myself for a second. Okay, that's fine. So is map edge, I want to have for sure. Is region border, I like a lot. I think is region border is pretty important. I thought about naming it is outer wall versus is inner wall and making those making that this version. But I think that you can make regions that separate that aren't walls at all, right? So imagine, ignoring like the doors or whatever, imagine we have like a garden maze, and then like there's like a small area outside the exit of the garden maze which is still in the garden maze, and then you can like walk just out into through the open into the the forest where all the werewolves live or whatever. Then that could be, we'd have to make that a separate region, which means we'd have to have some edge case that it knows where it is. I also like the idea of setting a region border because it means that we can actually pass, I think it would allow us to pass overlapping bits, right? So, or not bits, I need to stop using technical words in non-technical sentences. It would allow us to pass overlapping indexes in tile generation. So let's like imagine a really simple example. Let's imagine that we have, this is a 5x5. There we go. And then, and then, oh, no. Okay, let's imagine that we wanted a region 1 to be A, there we go, A, and then let's imagine we wanted region, and let's do this. Well, that's region A, and then region B has to be built around this. Well, we could, like, there might be a situation where you just want to pass this, but you're worried that it's going to try to overwrite A. If we set A to be region border, or basically it allows us for non-standardized shapes to still be passed through, because we can just parse out the chunks that are from the other region border, or we can line those up as our region border. Oh, this is a region border? Cool. Well, it doesn't matter who owns this region border. That's fine. I'll just put mine up against, like, right up against the edge of it. And that's where I'll put my border. So I like that idea. And then is wall versus is floor, I think, is just crucial. That's going to be the core pillar stone of our pathfinding, of our line of sight algo, of everything. Is dynamic, I think, is really important for those. I don't know if we need is spawn point. I feel like we can get away with these 4 for now. So, to loop back to the beginning of this tangent, I wonder if these are 4 bits. We still have 4 bits left, but we could potentially convert those into non-bitmap things. So maybe 4 bits is, or maybe 2 bits are the regions, right? Let's imagine we only had, how many could you fit in 2 bits? It would be 6. You could fit 6 regions, or no, 1 and then 2, so 4 regions. Or we make that 3 bits, and so that way we can track the region inside of the tile with very little effort. So that would be nice. Yeah, and then I'm trying to think. So yeah, I think that's gonna be more or less what I'm thinking. I think it'd be cool that we have at least 4 bits that we can work with to put other data in if we're unsure, which I think is good, and that allows us to do more with it if we want to, and then we can leave that empty for now because we're still being pretty generous on our memory condensation right now. Condensing? Would it be condensation? Hold on. Can you use condensation in this way? Is that a definition? Condensation. Definition. A concise version of something. Hell yeah. Okay, you can use that as the object of condense. Good. Okay. So yeah. I think that's more or less what I'm thinking. So I think I want to do it the dumb way with the big ass array. The only thing that I'm a little uncertain about, or the thing I haven't brought up yet that is kind of important, is technically in our Resident Evil example, the player is going to want to go up and down floors. But I do not want to make the storage of this map 3D. What I'd like to do, that might be a flag, is connection point, or like is staircase, or is, yeah, hold on, that might need to be a flag. So that way, what we might do is lay out a separate section over here in memory that's, you know, this, and that only happens once you walk up the stairs, and that's like slotted on top of that or something. So I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna store that. I'd like to store it inside of the same 2x2, but it might need more. I don't want to make it a 3D array. One, because that's gonna be so annoying to work with. But 2, most of those spaces will be empty, right? Because you're exploring Dracula's castle in this game. So if we have 4 floors of the castle, or 7 floors, or however many floors, with each floor we would exponentially increase the size of the array, despite the fact that only in the castles are going to go up, and in all of the surrounding gardens or woods or whatever sections of the map we have, that it's not going to raise at all because it's a flat area, or maybe it's like slightly elevated. Maybe there's a 1 floor increase or 2 floor increases. Let's say in the crazy scenario, there's a mountain in the back that you can climb. All right, for the 99% of other empty space, we are just eating away at empty nothingness. So I need to find a way to store the height offsets. What I might do... I'm trying to think of an easy way to flag it such that you could, or like a mathy way that you could check indexes. Like, let's imagine that, no, that doesn't work. I was gonna say, let's imagine that you could set, the height is equal to index plus 500 or something like that, and then you just go 500 up. But that doesn't really work because whatever that number is would have to be outside the bounds of the first dimension, which means that you would basically have to create an entire second dimension to offset that. And that would still raise with every single thing anyways. So it'd be the same size in memory. I just realized what I was saying out earlier. Be clear, I said 100,000 was the size of the data, but I'm realizing that I was conceptualizing as 100,000 kilobytes. It is 100 million bytes. So just to clarify, I do understand that megabytes are not thousands; they're in the million range. Yeah, fuck. I feel like there's an easy way, or like a smart way to do this, where we just staple these onto the edges. Okay, for now, we're going to just use the 4. And we're going to assume that in 4 bits, we can come up with some ingenious method or have some maybe collection of like just a side index collection that's like, these are the stair points or whatever. And then it just checks those. But we'll have to come up with something. Alright, let's start writing. So let's start off. I built a tile so far. But it is just an environment ID. And also, let me zoom in a little bit more so you guys can actually read more of whatever the fuck I'm writing. Okay, let's change environment ID to... I thought about that recently. Look, it looks really small on your guys' monitors if you're not full screening me. We're just gonna do that. Well, no, actually, we're making this a 2x2. So actually, this is going to... We don't actually need a struct for this. Unless we just made a struct called tile that was an int. That just contained an int. But I'm trying to figure out why I would ever do that. I'll leave it here for now, but I'm gonna write assuming I don't need that, and we'll see what we end up with. Maybe the tile typing will be... You know what, let's make it a type. The typing would be more clear and would hopefully ensure... Christ. ensure a less likely chance that you accidentally just add something on top of it or do some dumb shit. I mean, it should be the same size. Hopefully it's less... It's not as many operations. We'll try it for now. If it becomes an issue, you can just swap out the int and remove the value property. It'll be identical. But I want to write something. Okay, so... This isn't really a system in the standard way. But it will need to be a collection that's stored. So what we'll do is... And then we will have to access it. let's create a system. We'll call it map utility. All right, and then we don't need an on update. Get rid of that. We don't even need an on destroy. Well, let's keep it for now because we might have to create a collection for this that needs to be memory managed. Let's go ahead and add a component data. We're going to call this map. Just map data. Okay, and then what we'll say is technically, since we're making this read only, there is a world where we store this as like what's it called, the blob asset or whatever, the read-only binary struct that Unity has. But I heard somewhere that if it's over a certain size, you don't want to do that. And we're gonna make this pretty large. So for now, let's just read it in as an array, and then we're following the refactor when necessary principle for now. Okay, so let's do a public unsafe list. It would just be an array. Native array. That's single dimensional, isn't it? Is there a way to do two-dimensional native arrays? Or I guess it doesn't even need to be a component. There's no real reason for it to be a component, because we're just we will burst compile this though. Public tile array value. Or no, we'll just name this map. That way we can put we can put the other collections that would transpose on top of the map in this struct as well. Okay, we'll make that, and then let's do on create no, we are going to need a way to reference this, so it probably should be an I component. Unless we just make the map utility the interface between the two, but I'd rather make the systems interact with the data directly. Okay, we will make this a component. It's not flagging me on the tile array. Let me recompile real quick and see if it hates that. But if it's not giving me an error for this, then I'm going to assume that I actually am allowed to make tile array, two-dimensional arrays, which would be very useful if true. This is all burst situations, so I don't care. Okay. Well, it doesn't seem like they give a fuck. Okay, good. So then what we'll do is we're going to do... Christ, can my voice not fucking keep cracking on me? Ugh. Good God. Var map data is equal to add components, would be state.add component entity manager. There we go. I'll type map data to system API dot get singleton entity that contains turn system data. So that's our big boy, the big system data boy. Okay. Use the result of a get singleton component, call in the function onCreate must require a required for update call. Well, it's not running it on updates, so shut the fuck up. Okay. Oh, it stores it as a bool? I'm assuming of whether or not it could actually add it. So we'll do, we won't set it then. Var map data is equal to state, nope. System API dot get singleton read write of type map data. Ref read write of map data. Or no. No, map data works here. What did I do wrong? Components.map data must be a valid unmanaged type. Ah, okay, this is where the error is going to throw. Could I make it an unsafe? Okay, then we're gonna do public const u short x x length map underscore x underscore length and is equal to, say, 100. And then we'll do something similar for y. And then so we can like recreate the two-dimensional. Let me rename this actually to tile chunk, because that's more accurate anyways. Okay, and then we'll say for int I is equal to 0, I is less than map data dot value ro dot map why can't I access this? Cannot access static constant map underscore x underscore length in non-static. Wait, I already did something like this before. What's different? Maybe because it's read only? Okay, yeah, I actually just can't use constants. Interesting. Okay, and then we'll do u short x length, u short y length. Can I ref a state inside of this? That would be crazy. Into the constructor, and then do map underscore x underscore length is equal to x length. And map underscore y underscore length is equal to y length. And then map is equal to new unsafe list of type with size x length times y length allocator dot persistent. If I can do this, that'll be kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, and then we'll go inside here and we'll do for int j is equal to 0, j is less than map data dot value. And then we'll do map data dot value read write dot map bracket hold on, I gotta figure out how I'm gonna. I need to actually think this through. How do I access a 2D array into, or like a flattened array? If we have this 5x5, alright, I want to access this 4x, or no, let's do one offset. This 4x3. That means that this will be the 5, 10, 15, 18th index at index position 17. So it'll need to be map length I times map length plus y, because if we're trying to get the 17th index, so we start at 0, right? Because it's the 18th, but we're starting at 0, so it'll be 17th. And that'll be, we're on the 4th column with a length 5, which means that we needed to jump 15. So it'd be, I would be 2 at this point. So it would need to be I plus 1 times map x length plus map y length. Oh wait, no, hold on. That doesn't work. Because if we wanted to access 0, 0, then that would be 0 plus 1 times map length. Yeah, that wouldn't work. Okay. So what's the logic here? 0, 1, 2. Oh, maybe you add an extra x rather than add an extra I. So the I stays the same, but now you do I times x plus x. No, hold on, fuck. There's something here. If you want to access, let's do this. It'll be, I'm dumb, so we're gonna have to write this out. It'll be 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4. We'll only do the first two rows for this. 0, 5, 0, 6. Or no, we did 4. So now we're done. So that's going to be 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, and 1, 6. So that's our array. And then if we wanted to grab position, I don't know. So if we wanted to grab this position, that's going to be 1, 5. Or no, fuck, hold on. I did too many again. I wasn't thinking. Okay, this is our, I think this is it, right? Because it'll be 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4. That's 5. Yep, and then we'll hop to the next row. So 1, 3 is this tile. So we would want to grab, that would just be I times X length plus J. Oh wait, I overthought the fuck out of that. That's way easier. Okay. Oh, wait, but we are doing this in 2x2 chunks. So what we actually want to do, I guess we could just spawn the chunks first. We'll just do a new tiled chunk. So technically, if this is a ooh, a bot. Love that. There we go. Okay, yeah, we need to change this to how does it look again on the system data? Let me close tabs we don't need right now. Add component, entity, comma, new. Yeah, okay. So we should be able to do this, I think. And then we're gonna go new map data 5, 5, ref state. Does it not let you do that outside of baking? Uh-oh, hold on. Looks like the stream might be messing up. 1 second. Audio's current bitrate is lower than the recommended bitrate. We recommend to use an audio stream bitrate of 128. Current bitrate is lower than the recommended bitrate. We recommend to use an audio stream bitrate of 128. It seemed to work. How does Twitch doing? Sounds fine. Okay, I don't know what's happening. We're gonna ignore that. Oh, the music turned off. Let me. There's another one on here. Just keep playing jazz shit in the background. I just wanted noise that's not too distracting. How's the audio levels looking? Yeah, looks fine. Okay. I don't remember. Can you assign a read-only outside of a constructor? Like if I go var map is equal to new map data, map, yeah, it doesn't let you. Except a constructor or variable initializer. Yeah, that's what I thought. Maybe we can do... Maybe we can add it here. We'll do map data temp is equal to new map data 5 state or ref state, and then just pass temp in. Can I resolve method of type components.mapData companion? Hold on, let me look it up. How to add component to Unity with constructor. You can't use constructors with mono behaviors. Oh wait, I need to type in ECS because I don't care fuck about mono. Adding constructors to components. What is a managed component? Unlike unmanaged components, managed components can store properties of any type. You can't access them in jobs. Okay, I automatically do not care. Or I guess maybe it doesn't need to be in a job. Maybe you can just send the job the sub chunk and store the larger thing outside of it. But I don't know if I really want to do that. I'm not seeing anything. I wonder if the, oh, let me check the add component docs. Maybe it'll be in there. Add components. The entity object refers to an entity that already has the specified component type. The function returns false without performing any modifications. Entity. Yeah, I'm not seeing a way to do it. How do I want to structure this? It would almost be nice just to make it like a static thing that anything could reference. And not have it rely on any... I don't really want to make it a component. Because I don't really want to attach it to an entity. I just want it to kind of exist. The side. Almost like a global component or something. I guess I could try to make it static. But I don't think you're allowed to bake anything that has the unsafe list. Maybe if... Hold on, let me look through the list of possible component types. Maybe there's one that does exactly what I wanted to. Let's see. Unmanaged components. Most common component type that can only store fields of certain types. Managed component that can store any field type. Shared components that group entities in chunks based on their values. Cleanup components. When you destroy an entity that contains a cleanup component, Unity removes all non-cleanup components. Okay. Tag components. Unmanaged component that stores no data and takes up no space. You can use tag components entity queries to filter entities. Buffer components. One that acts as a resizable array. Chunk component. A component that stores a value associated with an entire chunk instead of a single entity. Enableable. Singleton. What is a singleton component? A singleton component is a component that only has one instance in the given world. For example, if only one entity in a world has a component of type T, then it is a singleton component. And if a singleton component is added to another entity, then it is no longer a singleton component. Additionally, a singleton component exists in another world without affecting its state. Best practices for Git singleton read-write are only used to access a native container in a component. This because native containers have their own safety mechanisms capable. Yeah, I guess I could make this, since it's a single dimension, I guess I could make this a native array. What's the difference between native array and native list? Unity, native array versus native list. Okay, let's try that. And now that it's storable, we'll just add it in baking. So we'll go into system data authoring, add component, entity, new map data, 5,5. Do I need to make map new in this? Okay, I guess I'm just not gonna make this read only. I don't know. I wish I could make this constant. I feel like I should be able to make this constant. Then I can't access it. Can't access constants ECS. Unity. ECS Unity constants. But you can't access that. I don't understand. How am I supposed to use this? My rough rule of thumb. Oh wait, no, this was written back in 2019. This is entirely useless now. Const. Yeah, I guess not. Fuck it. Field could be made read only. Not if I do that. I should probably make that a component though. That wasn't why this was having an issue, was it? If I turn this back to a const. Yeah, okay, never mind. Okay, we'll do var, or no, we'll do map data dot value read write dot x, or no, that map x length is equal to 5 map data dot value read write dot y is equal to 5. Kill me. Okay. Map data dot value read write dot map is equal to new native array of type 5 or map okay. Okay, so now if we, what we'll do is we will create this. Oh wait, I know what needs to happen. We actually, yeah, hold on. We actually do need to change this. We need to set this to ISystem start stop. And then we need to add those missing members. Yep. And then we need to paste this code in there. And then we need to rename this from map utility to run generator. And then on system data authoring, or is it inside system status? Where is it that sets the default for system status? Maybe turn system data has it. Oh, it's right here. I was looking right at it. Oh, we're gonna change this to start. And then we're gonna go into you. We're gonna make a new one. Yeah, and then okay, pushing onto here, and then we're going to go. Once this is done, then we'll set system API dot get singleton read write of type system status dot value read write dot value is equal to. If I would not fucking god damn it. Turn. Hello? What the fuck? Okay, Christ. Okay, and then okay, I want to see on the first frame. We're thinking. We are a thinker. There you go. Okay, reattach to Unity. How are we never running this? Am I missing something? We set it to start. We added the map data. Okay, let's go through run generator. Did it not recompile the close you type map data? How are we getting a temp leak? From what? Collection unsafe list. Native list. Am I not attached, or is it just ignoring it, or... We're not even hitting it. The blittable component type map data contains a potentially nested pointer field. No. Blittable component type map data on game object system data contains a potentially nested pointer field. Are ints not blittable? I don't understand. It's just an int. And the U short. So I know you're complaining about the native array, but yeah. Hold on. Blittable component types on game object contains a potentially nested pointer field. They're not allowed to be baked into subscenes. Maybe we'll use a blob asset. Okay, let's change this to public struct. Oh, let's add the burst compile real quick. Might as well slap this shit on everything you can. Public struct tile set. I don't know. Public blob array tile chunk value. Fuck it, let's change it to an end. There's no, at this point. Okay, you're gonna compile on me now? Blob builder No, we'll say var bb is equal to new blob builder. Let's look at this reference example. Allocator dot temp, because I'm only going to last for this frame until I make it. And then ref tile set ts is equal to ref bb dot construct root okay, and now we can say arrays and blob assets. Oh, here we go. Oh, you know what? I wonder if it is actually better to do tile chunk, because I can make this, we'll say tile 1, and then just do it that way. Okay, so now we say blob builder array. Array builder is equal to builder.allocate. Okay. Blob builder array of type tile chunk TCs is equal to new ref ts allocator dot persistent. Oh no, now it's number. That's going to be just copying this. Oh, I copied the allocator. What the fuck am I doing? There we go. Wait, did I not say pass the ref inside there? Oh, ts dot value. What's this error? Argument is ref while parameter is declared as a value. Oh. Wait. Blob array of item. Blob builder array of item. Yep. Is equal to builder. Oh, which is BB. There we go. That's what I did wrong. BB.allocate, ref that value, and then there. Okay. And then we do down here. Okay, and then here we're going to say TCS like that. Yes. Okay, cool. Can you modify this? TCS bracket I times map data dot value arrow dot map x length plus J dot tile 2 is equal to 5. Let's see. And then over here at the end, I guess we'll just say, let's actually build the thing, which is var result is equal to, oh no, that's if you want to return that. Okay. Builder.create blob reference asset. Map data dot value read write. Oh, Christ. I don't know why it keeps doing that. I don't know what button that is. Dot map is equal to bb dot create blob reference asset of ts allocator dot persistent. Oh, maybe it has to be passed in as a ref. Oh no, this is okay. bb.dispose. Okay, it should be good now. Let's recompile. And then we'll see what happens at the end of this. I'll put a hook in there. Click play. Okay, so supposedly we did it. We did the whole thing. Map data, map, value. 25 items. A, good sign. Entries. So, for each of these, yes. Look at that. Beautiful. Okay, and now this is a read-only thing. So now we'll just hit continue, or we'll unattach, actually. Oh. Let me get rid of this. There we go. Okay, so we can officially make the map. Now we have to start doing... I feel like the easiest way to do this would be, since we know we can write over it, we would just maybe do like switch Christ, what the fuck is happening? I comma J. Thank you. Case where I case, what would this be? Oh, that's going to be each individual. What this should say is like, I don't know how you compress this. I know it's switch because it's not one condition, but it'd be like if I is equal, or if I is equal to 0, or j is equal to 0, then and this would be tiles 1 and 2. Actually, I do need to figure out how to name this such that this is clear in my head of like, oh yeah, this is tile 1, that's tile 2, so on. You know what? Let's try to do bitwise memes. Let's see if we can do this. I want to experiment with this. So the bitwise that I want to do is based on our notepad. I want to set if I is equal to 0 or j is equal to 0, or it's equal to what the max would be, then we'd flip on the isMap edge check, which means we would need to add or shift a 1 into the 8th position. Let's see. I had a bitwise operator thing pulled up here. Let me add this Google Chrome tab as a source real quick, just so you guys can actually see what the fuck I'm looking at. Window capture. Alright, so in this case it's going to be bitwise and such each bit to only 1 if both operands have 1 in that position. Okay. Or is if either has 1. XOR is if they're different. Not inverts them. Left shift moves bits left, multiplying the number by 2 to the n. So if we have a number that is equal to 20 and we shift it down, right shift is 5. Oh, we divide it twice because it's shifting it twice. Okay, never mind. So that's, yeah. So basically divided by 4. Okay, I understand now. So what we need to do is let's hop back into the code. I'll turn this off. tiles equal to how do I shift the oh okay. I say it's 1 to the 8th. Can I convert type source int to byte? Wait, fuck, I don't want to right shift. How do I individually change a bit? That's gonna be... You're gonna have to use and for that, I think. Okay, so these are saved as ints, which means that we should just make this an int. Okay, and then we're gonna say, so we're gonna have to have very good notes for this. So an int is 4 sets of 8, right? So this one is going to be our 0, 0. This one's going to be our 0, 1. This one is going to be our 1, 0. And this one's going to be our 1, 1. So if we want to... No, we need to make this OR. An OR is just pipe. Okay. So what this is going to do, and we're going to set that to 32. I think it's 32. It might be 31. C# bitwise operators. Okay, I'm turning back on Chrome. Yeah, we're gonna want the logical OR so that we can basically set a flag to true and then that'll pull it over to the other one. The following list orders bitwise and shift operator starting from the highest to the lowest. Uh-oh. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Okay. And so... Wait, how many... What is the position count? That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, fuck me. When operands of different integral types, their values are converted to the closest containing integral type. Look at numeric promotions. Our minimum is int. Okay, so we're sticking with int then. You know what? Fuck it. If it breaks it, it breaks it. We'll find out pretty soon. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna set. We're also going to do. Hold on. Let me reread that bitwise real quick. Make sure I didn't fuck this up. On the or. Oh, I did fuck this up. Is there an or equals? Oh my god, there is an or equals. Oh, that's so nice. Okay. Could you do and equals? Let me make sure that this is like not just a fluke. Yeah, it looks like you can. Oh, beautiful. Okay. So because this is the bottom left bit, which means that it's actually we're not this isn't 32. Hold on. Let me pull up like what would you search this as? Binary position values calculator. There has to be like a, what would you call this? Binary to decimal calculator. There's gotta be one where you can just like click on and off different bits and like read the value. What is a number in its binary form visual? Binary to the 32nd bit. Okay, 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 30, 31, 32. What? Copy, please. Paste? No? Okay. 214748. 3648. Maybe it's supposed to be 31 positions? 107, 374, 1824. Now I need like a, hold on, let me see if I can find something. I need like a screen that I can just click on and off bits and then see that number value. Bit to number calculator. No, no, no. What would you see? Visualizer? Oh my god, somebody did it. Oh my god, it's exactly what the fuck I want. Hold on, I gotta show this off. Who is this beautiful man? Grabowski? Love this. This is exactly what I want. I can just, yes. Yes. God, yes. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bits? Why the fuck is there 9? Okay, so those are IP addresses. Okay, can I set the length to 32? What do you mean you don't know what a 32-bit is? Use a U suffix to denote an unsigned. Just do U32. Okay, delete. If I just type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. With a 1 so that it lets me do the given signed 64 bits are numbers from range. Okay. Help. Just help me. Oh. Okay, we're gonna clear first. So I think it's supposed to be 31 positions. Let me No, that doesn't make sense. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or I guess because this is reading this as a whole number. What this should actually be is, what is int max value? Paste. There we go. Okay. Oh, fuck you. Okay. Actually, what's the U? I did have this as an int. But this should actually probably be a uint. So let me actually do that real quick. We'll do u bam. How do I suffix? Oh, so it needs to be that u. There. Okay. Delete. Delete. Paste. I guess, does it matter that it's an int? Or a uint? I guess it doesn't, because it's not like they're just bit maps, so I guess it doesn't. Okay, hold on. Fuck it. I'm gonna keep it with an int just because making it uint is gonna confuse me, I think, because I'm gonna be like, oh, it needs to always be positive, but it doesn't have to be, because they're just bitmaps. The value does not matter. Delete. Copy. Christ, can my voice stop fucking breaking tonight? Oh, wait, I do want to use uint, because if I use int, then all of them have to be fucking... then it's gonna get, like, negatived out, and it's gonna be weird as fuck. No, let's change it to uint. Okay, we'll change that to uint, and then we'll change that to uint. And then we'll go back to u. And we'll run this for the millionth fucking time. Delete this. I click through these one last fucking time before I never have to do this all again. Okay, it's the same, but I don't care. We're gonna do this. All right, let's head back into the code. Let's give you vision back. I don't think I have too much longer in me before I go to crash, because I'm pretty fucking tired, but for now, we can copy this and paste. Okay. So this should shift the 30-second bit to, or I guess the first, depending how you think about it. I think it's 30-second to true. And then this will be, we would then also want to do the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 9th one. So that's going to be this. And let me paste this because I have to do this with my mouse because of the Vim macro and I don't know how to do it from outside. Okay, and then we're going to delete that line and delete that line. And then or equals. There we go. So now, theoretically, this number is going to look weird as fuck, but if we, we'll do this. How do we, you know what, fuck it. We'll just recompile. And then what I'll do is when we go to read this value, oh, we got an exception. Let's close out because I forgot to reattach the fucking breakpoint. What do you mean the breakpoint didn't run? Reattach. Put it here. Okay. So now if we go into map data, go into map, raw view. Wait, it set it to null? There we go. Okay, 25 entries. So that's the value. If I head over to this Chrome, I turn on flags 1 and 9. I pull up Notepad. And it's paste. That's the value from our code, and that is the value from the site. Okay, so flags 1 and 9 were flipped. Awesome. That is correct. This is exactly how we want that. Oh, so I think the next thing I think if we're going to do this bitwise, I think we're going to need architecture to support that. So I think one of the things I'm going to need is I am going to need a number, a bitwise position to number grabber. Because I don't want to manually write these. Like, let's say we change this flag is now this flag. Hard coding that number and then rewriting all those numbers is going to be a fucking pain. But if we can say, you know, bit shift 8, or it's gonna be like, okay, that's so much cleaner, which is what we're gonna do. So and then we just need a way to specify which tile. I guess we could add another loop to the iterator that does per tile. Or we have like, hmm. Yeah, let's go here. And we're gonna go into map data. And we're gonna make a few numbers. We're gonna do public byte is map border flag. And then we're going to set that up here. And then we're going to go into here and we're going to replace this with parentheses of or I guess we have the not equal or the or equals. I don't think we need it. We could actually just do map data dot or no 1 bit shifted map data dot value ro is map border flag. What is this error? Cannot convert type long to target type int? Why would be a long? $31? $25. There has to be a way to do variable bitwises. Hold on. Because the shift operators are defined only for the int, uint long, and ulong types, the result of any operation always contains at least 32 bits. I think this is supposed to be 31. Map data does not contain a definition for is border flag? Oh, wait, fuck, hold on. I'm trying to write it in the middle of the Unity. That's the issue. Cannot convert type source long to target unit int. Why would it be a long? Well, there's no part of this that's long. Cannot convert type long to int C# bitwise. C#, how to use int bitmap. Oh, there's a bitmap class? Wow, this is for like visual shit. I don't care about this. How to use int, how to set, how to bitwise ints C#. I don't know. I don't understand. Maybe I need parentheses here. No, it knows. Maybe if I save this as a uint. Is one a default uint? Do I have to cast this as a fucking uint in order to get this to work? Cannot apply bit shift to type uint and uint. Am I missing something here? What the fuck is happening? Hold on. For more shared out, the right-hand operator defines the shift count. See the shift count of the shift count. If the type of X is int or uint, the shift count is defined by the low order 5 bits of the right-hand operand. That is, the shift count is computed from count of OX1F. I don't understand the fuck this is saying. Oh, it's only reading the 5 most bits. That's what that's saying. So it's saying if you if you shift A by 1, it becomes, if you shift 1 by 1, it's 2. And if you shift 1 by 225, which then it's also 2. Okay. Maybe I need to write this in this binary notation they have. So this would be 0b underscore 000 underscore 001. Same issue. You know what? Let's try to change it to int and see if that's causing the issue, because now that we're no longer hard writing the values, this should be much easier to manage. Type long. I don't... If you only get rid of the 5 most digits, why is this even a problem? Okay, the int is always the left or the rightmost digit. So that is okay to be an int. And then we have an int here. Okay, so there was some meme shit happening with the uint. Okay, we're just keeping this with ints. Fuck me. Okay, and then we should do the exact same thing here. So the difference is that now we need to multiply this by the tile. Can I change this to byte now? Does that change anything? It doesn't change anything. Okay, cool. We're doing that. Public byte. Fuck. Okay, how do I properly split this? It is too late. I need to go to bed. I can't do this right now. I'm having a hard time, and I just need to reset. Fuck me. I think that there's a way to do this that doesn't require us putting that into the, or like making a, keeping it as an int, and then there's a way we can do it without doing meme shit. But whatever it is, I'm not gonna be able to figure it out right now. So let me disconnect this. Oh, is there a memory leak by keeping the blob builder? Um, Oh, come on. Are we stuck at the fucking crash loop now? Fuck me. Alright, it's fine. It is what it is. We're just gonna close Unity. I'm not gonna come back to this. Or whenever. Performances, processes, close, Unity. Then we'll hop back. Oh, that also closed Writer. Oh. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Appreciate it. See you around.